Welcome to the Hollow Chronicles, where nightmares are born and legends come to life. Tonight, we venture into the unknown. The Demon of Silent Ridge. Silent Ridge was a town shrouded in mystery and fear. Nestled deep within a forest, it had been abandoned for decades, its history buried under layers of dust and whispers. The townsfolk had fled after a series of inexplicable tragedies, leaving their homes and livelihoods behind. Rumors of a malevolent entity, a demon that hunted those who dared to stay, had turned Silent Ridge into a place of legend and terror. Intrigued by the stories and eager for a challenge, a team of seasoned ghost hunters decided to investigate the abandoned town. The team consisted of Alex, the fearless leader with a background in paranormal research; Lisa, a tech expert who handled all the equipment; John, a skeptic who provided a rational perspective; and Maria, a medium with the ability to sense and communicate with spirits. They arrived at Silent Ridge just as the sun was setting, casting long shadows over the dilapidated buildings. The town was eerily silent, the only sound being the rustling of leaves in the wind. As they unloaded their equipment, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. "Everyone ready?" Alex asked, trying to keep the unease out of his voice. Lisa nodded, checking her cameras and audio recorders. "Everything's set. Let's see if we can catch some ghosts." John rolled his eyes. "I still think we're wasting our time. There are no such things as demons." Maria closed her eyes, trying to sense any spiritual activity. "There's something here," she said softly. "Something dark and powerful." With their gear in hand, they began their exploration of the town. The buildings were in various states of decay, with windows shattered and doors hanging off their hinges. They started at the old town hall, its grand facade now a crumbling ruin. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the smell of mildew. They set up their equipment, placing cameras in strategic locations and setting up an EVP recorder in the main hall. "Let's split up," Alex suggested. "Lisa, you stay here and monitor the equipment. John and Maria, check out the upstairs rooms. I'll take the basement." As they separated, the sense of unease grew stronger. The town hall was filled with the creaks and groans of an old building settling, but there was something else, a feeling of being watched. John and Maria made their way upstairs, their flashlights casting long shadows on the walls. The rooms were filled with remnants of the past, old furniture, faded photographs, and personal belongings left behind in the rush to escape. "There's nothing here but dust and memories," John said, his voice echoing in the empty hallway. Maria, however, was focused on something else. She felt a presence, something malevolent and hungry. "We need to be careful," she warned. "I sense something dangerous." In the basement, Alex was setting up another camera when he heard a faint whisper. He froze, listening intently. The whisper grew louder, forming words he couldn't understand. It was a language ancient and twisted, filled with malice. "Who's there?" Alex called out, his voice trembling. The whisper stopped, replaced by a cold, oppressive silence. Alex shivered, feeling a chill run down his spine. He quickly finished setting up the camera and made his way back upstairs. Meanwhile, Lisa was monitoring the equipment in the main hall when she noticed something strange on the video feed. One of the cameras in the basement had picked up a shadow moving across the room. She adjusted the settings, trying to get a clearer view, but the shadow seemed to dissolve into the darkness. "Alex, I think I saw something in the basement," Lisa said over the walkie-talkie. "I'm on my way back up," Alex replied, his voice strained. As they regrouped in the main hall, Maria's expression was one of concern. "There's something here," she repeated. "Something powerful and evil." John was about to dismiss her warning when they all heard it. A low, guttural growl that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The temperature in the room dropped sharply, and their breath became visible in the frigid air. "Did you hear that?" John asked, his skepticism fading. Before anyone could respond, the growl turned into a roar, and the room was plunged into darkness. The lights flickered and went out, and the equipment began to malfunction, emitting static and distorted sounds. "Stay together," Alex shouted, fumbling for his flashlight. As the beam of light cut through the darkness, they saw it, a figure standing at the far end of the hall. It was tall and shadowy, with eyes that glowed a malevolent red. The air around it seemed to shimmer with an unnatural heat. The demon moved towards them, its form shifting and contorting in impossible ways. The walls of the town hall seemed to close in, and the oppressive presence grew stronger, suffocating them with fear. "Run!" Alex yelled, grabbing Lisa's arm. They sprinted towards the exit, but the demon was faster. They sprinted towards the exit, but the demon was faster. It moved with inhuman speed, blocking their path. The team was trapped, their only escape cut off by the malevolent entity. Maria stepped forward, her eyes closed as she focused on the demon. She began to chant, her voice steady despite the terror that gripped her. The demon paused, its form flickering as if struggling against an invisible force. "Keep going, Maria," Alex urged, but the demon's power was too great. With a final, deafening roar, it surged forward, knocking Maria to the ground. The team was thrown back by the force, their bodies hitting the walls with a sickening thud. Dazed and injured, they struggled to their feet. The demon loomed over them, its eyes burning with hatred. It reached out with clawed hands, ready to claim their souls. In a desperate move, Lisa grabbed the EVP recorder and played back the whispers they had captured earlier. The demon recoiled, its form shimmering as the distorted voices filled the air. Taking advantage of the distraction, Alex and John dragged Maria to her feet. "We need to get out of here," Alex shouted. They bolted for the exit, the demon's roars echoing behind them. As they burst through the doors and into the night, the oppressive presence began to fade. The town hall seemed to collapse in on itself, the walls crumbling and the roof caving in. They didn't stop running until they reached their van, parked on the edge of town. Panting and covered in dirt, they climbed inside and slammed the doors shut. "Is everyone okay?" Alex asked, his voice shaking. Maria nodded weakly, her face pale. "I think so, but that was something beyond anything I've ever encountered." John, his skepticism shattered, stared at the town in disbelief. "What the hell was that thing?" Lisa, still clutching the EVP recorder, took a deep breath. "A demon. We just faced a demon." As they drove away from Silent Ridge, the town disappeared into the darkness, leaving behind only memories of terror and a promise of vengeance. The demon was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its next victims, and the ghost hunters knew that their encounter with the demon of Silent Ridge was only the beginning of a much darker journey. Part 2. The Demon's Return. Months had passed since the harrowing encounter at Silent Ridge, but the memories lingered, haunting the ghost hunters. They had become more cautious, their enthusiasm tempered by the realization that some entities were far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Alex, determined to understand what they had faced, delved deep into ancient texts and folklore. He sought out experts in demonology, and interviewed survivors of other demonic encounters. His research led him to a chilling conclusion. The demon they had encountered was not just any demon, but an ancient and powerful entity known as Astaroth, a demon king from ancient lore. One evening, as Alex was poring over old manuscripts, he received a call from Maria. Her voice was urgent. "Alex, we need to meet. There's something you need to see." They gathered at Maria's apartment, the atmosphere tense. Maria spread out a collection of photographs and notes on the table. "I've been having visions," she said. "Ever since Silent Ridge, I've been seeing things. I think the demon is coming back." Lisa frowned. "What do you mean, coming back?" Maria took a deep breath. "Astaroth isn't bound to one place. It can follow us, and I think it's trying to find a way back into our world. I've seen it in my dreams, and I think it's close." Alex's heart sank. If that's true, we need to be prepared. We need to find a way to banish it for good. The team worked tirelessly, combining their knowledge and skills to devise a plan. They gathered ancient relics, protective charms, and holy symbols. They studied rituals and incantations, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Their research led them to an abandoned church on the outskirts of a small town. The church, once a place of worship, had fallen into disrepair and was now rumored to be haunted. It was the perfect place for Astaroth to attempt a return. As night fell, they made their way to the church, their equipment in tow. The air was thick with tension, and the oppressive silence of Silent Ridge seemed to follow them. Inside, the church was a haunting echo of its former glory. The pews were covered in dust, and the altar was draped in cobwebs. They set up their equipment, creating a protective circle with the relics and charms. "Everyone ready?" Alex asked, his voice steady. The team nodded, their faces set with determination. Maria began to chant, her voice filling the church with a rhythmic cadence. The air grew cold, and the shadows seemed to deepen. A low growl echoed through the church, and the ground trembled. Astaroth's presence was palpable, a suffocating force that pressed down on them. The demon materialized, its form shifting, eyes burning with malevolent fire. "You cannot banish me," Astaroth's voice echoed, a guttural growl that reverberated through their bones. "I am eternal." The team stood their ground, their fear giving way to resolve. Alex stepped forward, holding a relic aloft. "By the power of these holy symbols, we command you to return to the abyss." The demon roared, its form flickering as the symbols began to glow. Lisa activated the EVP recorder, playing back the distorted whispers they had captured at Silent Ridge. The air crackled with energy, and Astaroth howled in rage. Maria's chanting grew louder, her voice merging with the whispers. The protective circle glowed with an otherworldly light, and the demon writhed, its form losing cohesion. "You cannot defeat me," Astaroth snarled, its voice filled with fury and desperation. With a final, deafening roar, the demon's form shattered, dissolving into a cloud of dark smoke. The oppressive presence lifted, and the church fell silent. The team stood in stunned silence, the weight of their victory sinking in. They had faced an ancient evil and survived, but they knew that the battle was far from over. As they packed up their equipment, Alex glanced at his team. "We did it, but we need to stay vigilant. There are more like Astaroth out there, and they won't stop until they find a way back." Lisa nodded. "We'll be ready. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Maria, her face pale but resolute, added, "And we'll make sure that no one else has to go through what we did." As they drove away from the abandoned church, the dawn breaking over the horizon, they knew that their journey was only beginning. The world was filled with ancient evils and forgotten horrors, and it was up to them to stand against the darkness. Part 3. The Final Confrontation. The ghost hunters continued their work, facing down spirits and uncovering dark secrets. Their reputation grew, and with it, their understanding of the supernatural. But the shadow of Astaroth loomed over them, a constant reminder of the dangers they faced. One night, as they were investigating a haunted mansion, Maria had a vision. She saw a place of great darkness, a nexus of demonic power. It was a place where Astaroth's influence was strongest, and where the demon could be banished for good. "This is it," Maria said, her voice trembling with both fear and determination. "This is where we end it." The team gathered their equipment and set out for the location in Maria's vision. It was an old, decrepit manor on the edge of a desolate moor. The air was thick with an unnatural stillness, and the shadows seemed to move of their own accord. Inside, the manor was a labyrinth of dark corridors and decaying rooms. The atmosphere was oppressive, the very walls seeming to whisper with malevolent intent. They made their way to the heart of the manor, a grand hall with a crumbling altar. "This is the place?" Maria said, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and resolve. They set up their equipment, creating a protective circle and preparing their relics. The air grew colder, and the shadows deepened. Astaroth's presence was palpable, a suffocating force that pressed down on them. The demon materialized, its form more solid and terrifying than ever. Its eyes burned with hatred, and its voice echoed with a guttural growl. "You cannot banish me," it snarled. "I am eternal." Alex stepped forward, holding a relic aloft. "By the power of these holy symbols, we command you to return to the abyss." The demon roared, its form flickering as the symbols began to glow. Lisa activated the EVP recorder, playing back the distorted whispers they had captured at Silent Ridge. The air crackled with energy, and Astaroth howled in rage. Maria's chanting grew louder, her voice merging with the whispers. The protective circle glowed with an otherworldly light, and the demon writhed, its form losing cohesion. "You cannot defeat me!" Astaroth snarled, its voice filled with fury and desperation. With a final, deafening roar, the demon's form shattered, dissolving into a cloud of dark smoke. The oppressive presence lifted, and the manor fell silent. The team stood in stunned silence, the weight of their victory sinking in. They had faced an ancient evil and survived, but they knew that the battle was far from over. As they packed up their equipment, Alex glanced at his team. "We did it, but we need to stay vigilant. There are more like Astaroth out there, and they won't stop until they find a way back." Lisa nodded. "We'll be ready. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." Maria, her face pale but resolute, added, "And we'll make sure that no one else has to go through what we did." As they drove away from the abandoned manor, the dawn breaking over the horizon, they knew that their journey was only beginning. The world was filled with ancient evils and forgotten horrors, and it was up to them to stand against the darkness. Epilogue: The Eternal Vigil. The ghost hunters continued their work, traveling from town to town, uncovering the secrets of the supernatural and banishing malevolent entities. Their encounters with the demonic had left them scarred, but stronger, their resolve unshaken. Years later, as they sat around a campfire on a quiet night, Alex reflected on their journey. "We've seen things that most people wouldn't believe, faced horrors that would break the strongest minds, but we've also saved lives and protected the innocent." Lisa smiled. the firelight dancing in her eyes. And we'll keep doing it. As long as there are demons and spirits, we'll be there to stand against them. Maria nodded, her eyes filled with a quiet determination. We are the guardians of the living and the dead, and we will never stop fighting. The night was silent, the stars shining brightly overhead. The whispers of the past seemed distant, a faint echo of the battles they had fought. But the ghost hunters knew that the darkness was always there, lurking just beyond the veil of reality, and they were ready for whatever came next.